Hey, what is up guys? So today we are going to be playing Devil's Advocate and we are going to be arguing on the side that Pendulum Summoning is not broken. So basically, if you guys have seen the video already, basically just check out the video yesterday. If you don't know what the heck a Pendulum Summon is, it's a new type of summoning in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'm going to be defending the point, just for the sake of this argument, that Pendulum Summoning is not broken. Like I said, it's just for the sake of doing it for Devil's Advocate. Basically, I'm arguing on a side that I disagree with, but we're going to go ahead and do it because a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Players right now are really so worried that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has already gone down the drain simply because Pendulum Summoning is real and it's a thing in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's basically like the TV show where you get to basically special summon anything that you want. Now, first thing, everyone's talking about Pendulum Summoning. If this becomes legal in the TCG, they are quitting. Right now, it's not legal in the TCG. We don't have these cards, so you don't have to worry about these, on the next YCS, unless these, actually get released and, we have rulings and all that other good stuff for it. So, I want to ask you guys, how many of you guys are also the same guys that said, oh, Synchros broke the game? And the thing is, when Stardust Dragon came out, when I read this effect, I was like, this is crazy. Oh my gosh, my opponent, if they get out this card, how will I ever kill it? It's just going to negate it and then come back, too. And that's really insane. And then when XYZs came out, I know a bunch of you guys were like, oh my gosh, XYZs are so broken. Remember when Zen Mains was such a threat? Like, your opponent made a Zen Mains, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't get over Zen Mains. This thing is so broken. It's got too much defense. And now what happens when someone throws up a Stardust Dragon or a Zen Mains? You go, what a joke, right? So we may look back on the Pendulum monsters and be like, these cards are awful, when we have even stronger cards in the game. Now, I do want to mention that there are a bunch of different ways to actually counter Pendulum Summons. So let's go ahead and talk about them and kind of branch out about, why Pendulum Summons can be countered and how they're not technically broken for the sake of this argument. So, first off, this card over here is not something that you would main deck in everything, but it's a really great side deck. I mean, anti-spell fragrance. This means they can't activate their Pendulum monsters. Remember, Pendulum monsters, to activate them, there are a spell. If you want to normal summon, you can. Very rarely, and at the moment, there's really no Pendulum that really has a huge good effect if you normal summon them. They're all about being in the zone where you place them in the it's like a secondary field spell almost. It looks awkward, but they're on the field. You need 2 of them. And the thing with Pendulum Summon is you basically use 2 out of the 6 cards you have. If you go first, in the OCG, you technically only have 5 cards. So there's that downside. Basically, you have to use 2 monsters to essentially have the Pendulum effect anyways. And even then, you're still technically restricted. I mean, 2 through 7 is still a huge amount. Maybe they'll be changing those in the future. Maybe they'll ban certain cards, so it's very difficult. Like, your deck has to be revolved around certain ones. Maybe you're going to be only allowed to special summon a certain, like Beast Warriors or only Dark or something like that. We'll have to definitely wait and see how it actually happens, because one thing that I want to mention before I get into, everything, is how many of you guys remember the Tour Guide and Sangan effect back when Sangan was still actually legal? Back in the day when you would go Tour Guide into Sangan, and to go for number 17, detach, get Sangan's effect to add Effect Veiler, or add Max C, or add another Tour Guide. That was absolutely crazy, and that really broke the game. And that was ruled at several YCSs that was the way it was ruled, and if you detached, if Sangan was XYZ material, or anything was XYZ material, they were considered sending from the field to the graveyard. But then when D-Fissure was out, they actually didn't go to the grave either. There was a lot of strange rulings on that, and then they eventually decided, you know what, this is way too broken. And I think realistically what it came down to, because there were several judges, like I said, that were at, huge tournaments that were like, yeah, Tour Guide into Sangan, that works. And it was ruled for multiple tournaments that was the thing. And then I think they realized they made a huge mistake, and that was absolutely crazy. Tour Guide into Sangan into Search Another Tour Guide was just, it was way too unfair. Or Search an Effect better, then your opponent couldn't Tour Guide into Sangan and go for their effect. So you basically stopped your opponent really hard. And that ruling was changed. I really feel like it was totally changed because people were like, if you don't play Tour Guide, you can't play Yu-Gi-Oh! It was an insane effect. That was it was crazy is what it came down to. But nonetheless, that ruling was definitely changed, and I'm very glad that they did that. Maybe, perhaps, Pendulum Summoning, they'll be like, well, you can only get 1 monster out per turn. Because at the moment, you can get any amount that you want, which is kind of crazy, but like I said, for the sake of arguing, we're going to go ahead and say it's not broken, and we're going to talk about cards that counter. So, like I said, anti-spell fragrance, if your opponent is only playing a Pendulum deck, then you can counter them and be like, oh, you have a bunch of dead cards in your hand now, and they'll have to use their MST on this, otherwise they can't even play their Pendulum deck. Next thing up, Ceing. That's also a card that, you know, negates them, and they can be negated. Also, Ophion, that's a deck. I would say this deck is probably, I'd say it's much better than Six Samurais, because the problem with Six Samurais is that, first off, you gotta go first, Six Samurais. Evil Storms, they still have, you know, stuff to get over. I mean, Six Samurais, it pretty much comes down to Ceing almost all the time, and if, you know, someone gets out something stronger than Ceing, they really have a hard time dealing with it. But Ophion, he doesn't even let your opponent get out any of those bigger monsters. Sure, you might be able to stop the activation of one of the Pendulum cards, but if they activate another one, what are you gonna do? Unless, of course, you have that was a great Shogun Ceing, then that would stop Pendulum summoning, you know, for basically one turn, because they'd have to play a card, then wait one whole turn to play the other Pendulum card. So that will definitely slow them down as well. Next up, in the OCG, they have 3 Torrential Tribute, and that's definitely because Pendulum Summoning is a thing. Also, they have 3 Gores, so that is also a thing, but at that point, you're playing on a huge defensive side, but you might be able to OTK your opponent back. But Torrential Tribute is a fantastic card against that deck. Basically, what Pendulum Summoning does is it makes it so you overextend really, really hard. I mean, you're basically going all in at that point. If it doesn't work, you usually end up losing. And Torrential Tribute is a fantastic card when your opponent goes all in, and you just Torrential Tribute at the right moment when they have too many cards, and then you basically capitalize off of that. Other cards that can really be utilized to capitalize on your opponent going for a huge, big push when they go for that Pendulum Summon is a Deep Dark Trap Hole. This one's really great in that aspect because it banishes them, and banishing the Pendulum Dragon right now is one of the most important things. If you can get rid of this card, get rid of it as soon as possible by banishing it. Don't destroy it, because it'll go back face up, and they're just going to be able to do it again and again. So keep that in mind. Banishing this card is basically something that you want to do. Next up, Solemn Warning. This card definitely ruins them. Also, Bottomless Trap Hole, because all of them are technically special summon at the same time. It is considered an inherent special summon, so that means you cannot chain Max C to it. I almost feel like I need to make a video dedicated to this, because you know, I've been doing a lot of videos on Pendulum, and basically my opponent is like, wait, why can't I chain Max C? Because normally you'd think it's an effect, because it doesn't indicate anywhere on the card text that it has the effect that you can special summon infinite amount of monsters from your hand, as long as they are within the difference of the Pendulum level by 1. And the thing is, yeah, so you cannot chain Max C to it. I'll probably have to make some more ruling videos on it, because it is new. Everyone is interested in trying it out, and you know, you might not know exactly how it works. I had to learn how it worked myself. Next up, Mirror Force. This is going to be really hot. One thing that I might not think it is as hot. Like, I originally thought Max C, that card was amazing. But the problem is certain decks can just deck you out. You activate Max C, it's fine. I'm playing Scraps, I can just Authoros and Pop and Special and just keep on bringing out more stuff, and you might just lose. I will deck you out if you Max C me. So Mirror Force just might be another option, maybe even Battle Fader instead, because like I said, there are certain Pendulum decks that can just Special Summon and they will deck you out, which is unfortunate. But yeah, Mirror Force, fantastic. Again, going back to that aspect of special summoning a bunch of monsters all in one turn, and then using all of your resources. Basically, you're overextending, you're using all your resources, but if your opponent isn't playing any back row, you can really capitalize on that and just overextend and go for game. But in the OCG, they have 3 Gores, so good luck trying to get over Gores. But it's not even that hard, really, because some decks, like, for example, Scraps, if they happen to have, you know, multiple Golem, they can go Scrap Dragon, activate effect, then they can Scrap Dragon, and they can pop their Scrap Dragon, and then be able to pop, you know, your Gores or your token, bring out Scrap Golem's level 5, he might be able to bring back something else, then you can go into more plays, and then obviously, you guys can get the idea from there. Basically, what I'm saying is sometimes Gores won't even help. It'll prevent you from getting OTK, but you might not be able to, like, come back next turn. You really just need, like, a Dark Hole, and maybe Dark Hole will go to 3 in the OCG, who knows. Next up, Fossil Dyna. This card is going to be amazing. I really feel like this card, it's like a main deck worthy card, because, like, I can't think of very many decks that like to, you know, only normal summon. Boojins might be one of the only ones, and that's an anti-meta deck anyway, so it's going to be a lot slower. Fossil Dyna will be able to, obviously, you can set it, but if you, you know, have it first turn, and your opponent is only playing a Pendulum deck, they're going to have a hard time dealing with False Dyna, especially if you have to have multiple back row. I know in OCG they have Heavy Storm, so I don't think False Dyna is as good in the OCG as it will be in the TCG, because, you know, if you set a bunch of back row and you know, you get Heavy Storm, False Dyna not too strong with only 1200 attack. I mean, heck, some of the Pendulum monsters can actually attack over that, which is kind of embarrassing. I feel like the Pendulum monster should have lower attack, but again, trying to argue on the side of Pendulum Summon is not that good, we can counter it for the sake of doing it. Obviously, Vanity's Empty is a fantastic card, but remember, guys, since it is not an effect, you're just going to have to, as soon as they play both of the Pendulum cards, like the, I don't know if you want to call them the blue or the red, as soon as they activate one, the left or the right, blue or the red, as soon as they activate one of them, activate this, because again, they are an inherent special summon, which means you cannot chain to it, which means that if they go both Pendulum monsters and they go special summon, you can't say, I activate Vanity's Emptiness. You can activate it after, but at that point, they've already special summoned all their entire hand, and you might just lose. Next up, I feel like this card right here really counters them. So, Needle Ceiling, it has already seen some play against windups. It's just when there are 4 or more monsters on the field, destroy all face-up monsters. Obviously, they won't be, you know, you can't special summon face down. Well, at least the Pendulum ones that I know of right now. Who knows, maybe in the future they will actually change that. But for now, you have to special summon face up or face up attack or defense position. Next, that's just tour guide. So basically, there's just a bunch of counter, you know, there's a bunch of counters to Pendulum summoning. Like I said, guys, I'm arguing on the sake of just arguing on the fact that everyone thinks it's going to ruin Yu-Gi-Oh! And again, there were so many people that thought, you know, Synchros and XYZs were going to ruin the game. But, you know, now that we look back on it, we can see that, you know, these aren't, you know, so broken. Like I said, who knows? Maybe they'll actually change the ruling on the Pendulum Summon. I find it to be a really, really huge effect. And what it also kind of does, guys, is it allows other decks that you would never see, you know, in action to actually go ahead and try to make these other cards. But at the end of the day, it's just kind of becomes a huge special summon spam fest. And that could be bad for the game or good for the game, depending on the way you look at it. Maybe you only want to play, you know, a 30-second game. That's totally understandable. But I actually have a video that I uploaded. Well, actually, I didn't upload, but I'm going to upload it now. It was a few days ago. I was playing Drax against 6 Samurais. I'll put it's an unlisted video because I felt like it wasn't a really good video to showcase a duel, but it's an excellent example of using all your resources in one turn, and your opponent basically stopping you from OTKing, and you basically just win because of that. And it's just, I'm playing Drax, he's playing 6 Samurais, he swarmed, and then basically I come back slowly, and since he used all of his resources, he wasn't able to come back from it. Going back to the same idea, like a Torrential Tribute, if you get rid of, you know, your opponent goes for a huge play, you activate Torrential, you activate something, you basically stop them. Maybe you activate Battle Fate, and then you follow up with a Dark Hole. Maybe you special summon number 101 and you take their Xian, you know, whatever it comes down to, you taking, you know, the victory there, it can definitely, you know, be something that you can do in the game. But be on the lookout for Pendulum, guys. Maybe we won't even get them in TCG, because there is, you know, a side where Konami sometimes likes to hold off on a while, and we won't get cards for like a long time, like that Lightsworn thing that we're eventually getting. We haven't got that in a long time, so we might not get these for a while. So if you don't like the play style of it, hey, maybe you're safe for a couple more months. But when it comes out, you're gonna have to be expected to at least know how to play against them. And like I said, this is a, you know, good little video. But if there's any other cards that you guys that can suggest that really ruin them, or any decks that have a really good matchup, I honestly find Torrential Tribute to, like I say, be one of the best cards against them. And in the OCG, they put this card at 3 for a very good reason. I know MST is the thing, but, you know, MST gonna be MST. Oh, by the way, another important thing, you can MST the Pendulum monsters. Just, you know, if they activate one, immediately, well, unless they don't really know what they're doing, well, obviously, you might not want to MST this card because they're just, might be just searching out anyways. But, if they activate one of the other ones, being the spellcaster ones, I forgot their exact names, but anyways, if they activate one of them, MST, well, you can MST immediately, and then hopefully they won't have this another copy, because if they do, well, you might lose anyways. But like I said, you can MST them, that's a thing, and you cannot chain Max C when they activate the effective Pendulum Summon. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Like I said, if there are any other great cards, let me know, and we'll counter these Pendulum Summons, because for right now, everyone's already thinking that they're so broken and they're ruining the game. But going back to the same idea, who thought Zenmaines was super broken and that kind of ruined Yu-Gi-Oh! But thing is, we look at Zenmaines now and be like, the card's not even that good. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day and get to some Pendulum summoning. Try it out for yourself. See basically what wins and what loses and why, basically. Most of the time, if you're playing Pendulums, it's going to be because you overextended. But anyways, thanks for watching. Azneyes out.